Hi, I'm Kathy Dodson.
And I'm Jocelyn Lindsay. Welcome to another episode of 5 Minute Indie Insights, publishing tips and tricks in 5 minutes because who has time for another webinar? Today, we're talking about reader magnets. A reader magnet is something that you give away for free to readers to introduce them to you and your novels.
I've written two reader magnets. Both of them were novellas. One was a story about the main character for one of my books, Tequila Midnight, which took place about 10 years before the novel started. It set up who the main character was and why she turned out the way she did. It's not required to read that before you read the novel, but it's just a little bit extra for some people. And I have to tell you, I struggled with figuring out what my reader magnet was going to be for that book. I knew I needed it. It was my first book and I needed to kind of grow my email list, but I couldn't come up with an idea. And then I thought I'd write something through the main character's love interest, right? Use his POV. But once I started writing it, the story came together. It ended up being in her POV and it just ended up fine. So just figure out what you're going to do and write something. My second reader magnet was a story about all the decisions my main character made that set it up for when the novel started. So instead of being a story from her past, it was, the years leading up to it, those decisions she made so that you understood where she was when the novel started. Again, you don't need it. You don't need to read that to understand the novel. A novel is a standalone novel, but it's a little bit extra for people who want that.
You had a hard time with that one too, didn't you? Because I remember you. I don't think you originally had a reader magnet for the next book for podcast.
You're right, I didn't, but what happened was I do a lot of character work before I start writing my novels. So it's Lisa Cron's system where I do 3 scenes from my character that made her the way she was. And I was actually able to use some of that backstory that didn't get into the novel and pull it together into its own little story as a reader magnet.
Yeah, because I know, reader magnets aren't always easy to come up with, and it takes some time because I know I've been struggling for months to come up with a good reader magnet for the series that I'm working on. And the thought of a reader magnet has just like made me want to vomit for the last 6 months. It's been terrible. I come up with something and I get a good idea and then I decide I hate it. And it was only recently that after my beta readers read my book, they helped me come up with what my reader magnet should be. And I would never have had the idea for what my reader magnet's going to be if it hadn't gone to beta readers, because I had lost perspective on what somebody might want to know coming to my book. And those beta readers, they had very strong opinions about what they would have liked before they started the novel. So I'm going to listen to my beta readers and I'm going to write the reader magnet from a secondary character's point of view that really isn't a main character in the first book, but who has a whole lot of world knowledge and a whole lot of like knowledge that a reader might want as they're being introduced to the story.
That's a great idea. A reader magnet doesn't even have to be a story. It can be maps of a book setting, it can be genealogy reports on your main character, a story about something interesting happening in the world, that your book world, that will affect your protagonist, or a wide variety of other book related giveaways.
Yeah, I love all the different ideas you can come up with a reader magnet. But stories, this is where writing a story, or a novella, becomes important, because you can send a story out to people who sign up for your mailing list. You can also use them with promotional programs like BookFunnel and Story Origin. And we'll talk more about those two programs in a later video. But so if you're going to do a reader magnet, think about a story, because it makes promotion a lot easier in a lot of different situations.
That's true. And that gets to the heart of why we want you to create a reader magnet. You may be saying, well, why do I want to create something that we're just going to give away? You do it because it helps you build your newsletter list, especially through those two companies that Jocelyn talked about, and we'll discuss more in the future. My list went from 60 people to over 600 last year. And the majority of that, not all of it, but the majority of it came from my reader magnets. And we'll talk again more in the future about the importance of having your own email list versus having social media followers. But it really is important, and that's what a reader magnet can give you.
Yeah. So start thinking about a story related to your novel that you could tell. Usually that's a novella length, and that's 17,000 to roughly 40,000 words. You could write a side story. You could write a prequel story. I mean, we're used to that now with movies getting the origin story of a character. You could write something from the point of view of another character other than the main character, like mine's going to be.
Yep, reader magnets help you find your readers. And even though you're giving something away, they are priceless.
Okay, we're done for this week. Don't forget to subscribe. Press the red button, please. Now it's time to go write.
See you next time.
Bye.